do-gooders fail to realize that most good is not done in the name of good. In fact, if you were to ask me, you say, Williams, what's the noblest of human motivations? I'd say greed. And a lot of people say, and they say, Williams, can't you temper that a little bit? Why don't you say enlightened self-interest? Well, I think I like greed better. Greed in the sense that people are not stealing from one another, but people are trying to get more for themselves. Let me give you some of the virtues of greed. Now, or some of the good that's done by greed. Now, the citizens of New York, they derive their daily meals not from the benevolence of Idaho potato farmers. Or you might see that Texas cattle ranchers, they go to great lengths to protect their cows, going out in the winter, trying to find stranded herds, and their hands are frost-bitten, and they're cold, and they're away from the wives and families. They're making all these sacrifices to make sure that beef is in New York. Now, surely you wouldn't think that they're making the sacrifice because they love New Yorkers, would you? Now, they indeed may hate New Yorkers, but they make sure that beef and potatoes get to New York. I would hate to be a New Yorker if it depended on the kindness and gentleness of Texas ranchers and potato farmers. But why they get, the reason that they get their beef and potatoes in New York is because Texas ranchers and Idaho farmers love themselves. They're greedy. They want more for themselves. Well, let me give you another virtue of enlightened self-interest or greed. I've often said, during the energy crisis, and I don't want you young people to take offense with me, but during the energy crisis, you used to have these little advertisements with little kids on TV saying, don't be fuelers, save some energy for future generations. And whenever I saw the advertisement, I felt like throwing my ashtray right in the TV at the kid. And some people have asked me, they say, Williams, don't you care about future generations? And I say, no. I don't care anything about future generations. And people say, well, why? Well, my answer is that, what have future generations ever done for me? I mean, some kid that's going to be born in 2050, what has he done for me? And if he has not done anything for me, how then am I obliged to do anything for him? Where's the quid pro quo? There is none. Now, however, if you watch my actions would belie that sentiment. That is, if you came to my house in Valley Forge, I have about a little bit over an acre of land. You've seen several years ago, I spent $300 or $400 buying little seedlings, little tiny trees. Now, when those trees reach their full maturity, I'll be dead. And there'll be some 2050 kid swinging in my tree. Now, I could have gotten the full benefit of that $300 or $400 by buying some very nice wine and drinking it all myself. And that 2050 kid would have had none of it. I've made extensive repairs to the roof of my house, and the roof is going to last longer than I'll last. My wife has made extensive repairs to the kitchen. Matter of fact, as I'm here now, an additional room is being added to the house. And so what does that mean? It means that some 2050 kid will be swinging in my tree and tracking mud into my house, my kitchen floor, my brand new kitchen floor, having his toys strewn all over my deck. Now, why did I make all those improvements to my house? Well, part of the reason is that the nicer my house is, the longer it will provide housing services, what? The higher the price I get for it when I go to sell. That's all I care about. That's most of what I care about, the price I get for my house when I go to sell it. Now, but however, by pursuing my own selfish interests, I can't help but make a house available for a future generation. In free markets, one's personal wealth is held hostage to his doing the socially responsible thing. The socially responsible thing. That is, the socially responsible thing for me to do with respect to my house, a scarce economic resource, is to take care of it, is to conserve it. And if I do that, the free market will reward me with a high price. If I behave irresponsibly, don't take care of my house, don't try to increase the amount of time it will provide housing services, let it run down, then the market's going to punish me by a low price. So that's the virtue of, that's one of the virtues of the free market that goes unnoticed by many other critics.